Hey guys, this is Aaron. So I started work on my book, started building the illustrations for my book, and the whole thing happens inside of a haunted house. So the first piece I wanted to do was the exterior of the haunted house. So I'm just going to kind of hop in and take a look at how I went about that process. So here we go. All right, the first thing I did, it's always a good idea to have a plan of the thing you're trying to build. So I did a quick illustration just to kind of get an idea of what I was looking for that kind of maybe New England-y looking roof and maybe a widow's walk kind of thing on the top. So just a general sketch to figure it out. I wanted a little more precision to work off of, so I did create a model. I created this 2-scale, the exact size I wanted it. And I knew I wasn't going to follow this exactly, but I figured this would be a good way to get an idea of what I wanted to make. So I modeled the whole thing up in SketchUp. My plan was then to print it out to scale so that I could actually use it as reference as I started building out of cardboard. At this point, again, nothing was carved in stone, nothing was exact. This wasn't perfect, but it got me an idea of what I wanted to build. So I printed that out, taped the printouts together so they were full size. This was bigger than, it was about a foot wide, 3 or 4 inches deep, so I had to tape multiple pieces together. And then I started chopping up cardboard. I pulled dimensions off of the drawing. Sometimes it was just putting the chunks of cardboard onto the drawing and marking where to cut. I did try my best to use my square to get nice square cuts. I figured that would help. I didn't want this to be perfect. This is supposed to be a dilapidated building, but I didn't want it to look like I wasn't able to put something together square. So I was walking the line here of, just glue some crap together and it'll look okay, and, making it look like good crap glued together. So this first step, the creation of the actual shell of the house, was really just a lot of measurement and hot glue. I'm not a huge fan of hot glue. I should probably point that out up front. It's probably one of my least favorite adhesive materials to work with. Couple reasons. I don't like the strings that it gets everywhere. I don't like that I burn myself so often when I use it. None of that is the glue's fault, of course, but anyhow, it was perfect for this. There really wasn't time to glue this with, CA glue and wait for each piece to dry. Hot glue was kind of perfect because I could squirt it on there, blow on it, and let it dry as I went. You probably noticed that I have a super high quality glue gun there. It totally wasn't purchased next to the register at Hobby Lobby or anything like that. It's the high-end one. It's the one that the professional glue gun users use. So as I started putting this together, I did start at the bottom and work my way up, kind of put the front step on and then the wall behind. Wherever possible, I tried to just score the cardboard and fold it over to make a corner like I'm doing here. I figured that would be easier than gluing 2 pieces together. One less piece of material to glue. That was ideal. Less gluing, the better. So I just kind of worked my way up here. I did not get every piece right either. There was some trial and error. There's some spots where I cut a piece of material and didn't like the way it looked or didn't like the way it fit, so I would recut it and put it up again. This happened more and more as I worked my way up the building too, because as much as I try to stick to the plan, stuff did start moving around a little bit as I worked my way up. This whole building did come out of one piece of cardboard, which was the lid of a box that something came in. I don't even know what it was. Anyhow, I worked my way up, just cutting piece after piece and gluing together. I watched some other people do some of this kind of stuff, and some people definitely seem to have a plan when they go do this. That was not something that I had. I mean, I had plans, but I didn't know how this thing was going to go together, and it became especially apparent as I started on the roof, because the roof piece was really hit and miss. I tried to put some pieces on, angle some pieces, make them come together. I wasn't even really sure what the roof was going to look like until I got it on there. But working my way up the building, yeah, you guys are pretty much seeing the way this worked. there's always that point in videos like this where you're like, now I'm just explaining what's actually happening on the screen, and that's unfortunate. So at this point, we get to the roof. What I did here was I made the face plane, the plane of the roof that's going to face towards the front. Made that first and had that cut out the shape I liked, and then kind of just, again, hit and miss, cut pieces down to make the sides. In hindsight, what I could have done for this was actually print out those pieces of the roof, those faces of the roof, separately, like in a plan view. When I modeled it up in SketchUp, I could have just come back afterwards and printed each of those pieces out full scale, and that would have worked out okay. That probably would have saved me some time, but honestly, like I said, at this point I had varied here and there from the plan, so it wasn't a perfect match to the plan, so some variance kind of had to happen. This was especially so when I got to the upper roof, the top of that little tower there. The bottom piece was a little bit rough because I did have to cut around so many corners. So again, every piece was kind of custom cut. Not a big deal, but it did take a little bit of time. I'd say probably the roof took about as long as the walls. The good thing was doing the walls first. I had a better idea of how to do this, how to cut it, glue it together and all that by the time I got to the roof. So it was a little bit smoother than what I had to do on the walls, because the walls were definitely, the first time I had done anything like this, tried to glue cardboard together into an architectural model, was right there at the beginning of the video. But honestly, that's one of the things I like about doing this kind of work as opposed to, traditional modeling, sculpting, painting, which stuff I like to do. But the cool thing here is making stuff up as you go. That's one of my favorite artistic pursuits, is doing something I don't know how to do. So this is where I was talking about the upper roof. When I did go to make the roof on the very top, I actually made it totally wrong. Too big a slope. So I did end up pitching it after I made it, and actually I think I just ripped it apart, tore the glue apart, and glued it back together. Which I guess you could say is another reason I shouldn't dog on hot glue, is it was really pretty easy to pull apart. It didn't rip the cardboard or anything. See, there it goes, taken apart, put it back together. This did, however, cause a lot of those little strings that I hate so much all over everything. So, give and take, I guess. So at that point, I'd more or less finished the cardboard. Last step was to cut the windows in. This too, like I said, I ended up varying from what I had originally planned, and just kind of went approximately to where it was, which is fine. This is not going to have an architectural review. Not going to make sure this is exactly matching the plan. I went where I wanted to. I actually ended up skipping a window on the tower and gluing in a little bit of a box for the room up top, because that'll actually get lit up a little bit later. So that was the first step in making this haunted house. So that's the first piece. So that was the structural part. I was trying to figure out how to do this video, if I do one big long video that showed the whole house, because this whole house did in total take maybe 10 hours, and it was here and there. You probably, if you watch the video, you'll see my outfit changes. I don't just run off to swap t-shirts in the middle of modeling, usually in the middle of making stuff. That's something that happens because I do this for a couple hours here and there, evenings, weekend, mornings, that kind of stuff. So I think all in all, the house was about 7, 8 hours, something like that. So that was the first chunk, was the modeling cardboard. I'm just going to make another video of the second chunk, because it seems like that'll be more palatable to have shorter videos. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think down below. Next video is the fun one. That's where we take a couple sheets of craft foam and start making it look like a house rather than, cardboard. The thing I really liked about this was kind of keeping track of the materials I used. So I want to do that as I go through. So at this point in the modeling process, I've used 5 sheets of printer paper and a chunk of recycled, or heading for the recycling bin, cardboard, and a little bit of glue stick. that was it. So at this point, I was actually $0 out of pocket. That stuff cost something, but it was really just stuff I had laying around. So I didn't have to go buy anything at this point. So I want to kind of keep a running total and see how much it costs. So right now, 0. Just using recycled paper products. That's all I got going on so far. So hopefully you'll stick around, watch the rest of this. If you liked it, go ahead and click like down below. If you do want to be notified when the next video comes out, the one where I actually start putting foam on it and it starts to look like a haunted house, go ahead and subscribe down below. I hope to do that, have videos once a week or so now that I have enough content built up. And most importantly, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Is this fun? Do you like this? What could I have done different? Have you done anything like this before? Fill me in. Let me know what you think. I like making these videos a lot, but I want to make sure that it's something you guys want to see, so let me know what you think. So that's it for now. See you later. Thank you.